Our main sponsor for the iPhone 6 coverage is sellcashier.com. They compare iPhone prices on the internet and give you a quick quote and the most cash for your iPhone. So go ahead and check them out. It's simple, fast, and secure. Now that Apple has made the jump to bigger screen phones, how will the iPhone 6 compare to its biggest competitor, the Samsung Galaxy S5? Well, in this video, I'm going to be putting these two phones against each other and find out. This is Ed from TechSource, and this is the in-depth comparison between the iPhone 6 and Galaxy S5. So let's start the video off by looking at some specs. The iPhone 6 has an A8 chip running on a dual-core 1.4 GHz processor with 1 GB of RAM. The Galaxy S5 has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 chip running on a quad-core 2.4 GHz processor with 2 GB of RAM. It also has an Adreno 330 GPU. You can pick up the iPhone 6 in either space gray, white, or gold, and it's only available in either 16, 64, or 120 GB of storage space. Whereas the Galaxy S5 comes in black, white, gold, and blue, and it's only available in 16 or 32 GB, which can be expanded up to an additional 120 GB of space via SD card. When it comes to battery life, the iPhone 6 has an 1810 mAh battery, and the Galaxy S5 has a 2800 mAh battery, but what do those numbers actually mean? Well, according to Apple, the iPhone 6 can last up to 14 hours of talk time, 11 hours of web browsing on Wi-Fi, as well as 11 hours of video playback. The Galaxy S5, on the other hand, can last up to 21 hours of talk time, 10 hours of web browsing over Wi-Fi, and 13 hours of video playback. So Apple finally made the jump to bigger screen phones, something that a lot of people have been wanting ever since the release of the iPhone 4. Well, with the iPhone 6, people got what they wanted, a larger screen to work with. The iPhone 6 has a 4.7 Retina IPS display with a resolution of 1334 by 750, which is a pixel per inch count of 326. The S5, on the other hand, is rocking a 5.1-inch Super AMOLED 1080p display with a PPI of 432. So there is definitely a noticeable difference between the two displays, but how do the pictures look when comparing them with each other? Well, here are a few samples I pulled up on each phone. These are the same exact picture that you are seeing on both phones. I'm not sure if you can tell, but it looks like the S5 definitely has a bit more contrast than the 6. The yellow flower is more yellow on the S5 screen than it is on the iPhone 6. Same thing here with the red roses. However, if you look very closely on the S5 screen, you can see lighter spots all over the rose, whereas the picture on the 6 is just one constant red color. The Super AMOLED display on the S5 is definitely a nice feature, and with it you get truer to life pictures. Now let's take a quick look at the blacks on each phone. Right off the bat, I can tell that the iPhone 6 has a darker and more natural looking black than the S5, and I can tell you that the editing of this video does not affect the colors at all. The viewing angle is also important because you are not always looking straight at your phone at a 90-degree angle. So by measuring each display at an angle of 45 degrees and calculating the percent by which each aspect has altered from its normal reading, we can find out which display has a better viewing angle. Well, these are the results for the iPhone 6 and the Galaxy S5, where lower is better. Looking at the chart, it's pretty clear that the viewing angle is best on the Galaxy S5, but I'll let you guys be the judge on that from this quick demo here. So for speakers, the iPhone 6 has theirs located on the bottom just like the 5S. However, the Galaxy S5 has them in the back. I'm sure everyone would prefer them to be in the front of the phone like the M8, but we can't always get what we want. But anyways, here's a quick demo of both phones with maximum volume. The zoom recorder that I used to pick up the sound is also placed equal distances from each phone for a fair test.
College student! Mike Wazowski.
James B. Sullivan.
Like Bill Sullivan?
He's my dad. I expect big things from you.
I just need to ace my classes, graduate with honors, and become the greatest scarer ever.
Were you kissing my hand?
And what about you with all your shedding?
I don't shed.
Really?
The star player has just arrived.
You're my hero! Yeah! Slow down, Squirt.
This is a party for scare students.
I am a scare student.
I mean for scare students who actually, have a chance.
Just wait, Hotshot. I'm gonna scare circles around you this year. Behold, my brothers of Uzma Kappa. I'm Art.
Thought you might like to keep a dream journal. I'm a dance major.
And I'm not. They're not exactly the scariest group in the world. Hi, Mom!
With someone who has large hands like myself, I can definitely use the iPhone 6 one-handed. I can reach across the phone with ease, however I do need to tilt the phone just a little to access the top for notifications. I can't quite reach it comfortably. Even though I'm right-handed, I prefer to use my phones with my left hand instead, which is actually pretty weird, and this kind of annoys me a little bit when accessing the power button since I do have to reposition my hand in order to access it. People that use their right hand won't have any problems since it does come naturally. However, the iPhone 6 does have this pretty cool feature where you can double tap the home button, which brings all the apps closer to the bottom, which in return makes it easier to reach. But that still doesn't solve the problem if I need to reach the notifications. The Galaxy S5 on the other hand, yeah, it definitely needs a little more adjustment to use. I cannot reach the top at all, and the power button is that much harder to press. I should really consider using the phone with my right hand to avoid this problem. Now in terms of design, the iPhone 6 has a more circular design. It feels really smooth and it's rounded on the edges, really reminiscent of the HTC One M8. However, it does make the phone more slippery compared to the flat plastic edges of the Galaxy S5, which is a lot easier to hold and a lot less prone to drops. Apple is notorious for having thin smartphones. The iPhone 6 is no exception. It's thinner than the iPhone 5S, coming in at 6.9mm, whereas the S5's thickness measures at 8.1mm. So looking at the left side of the phones, you will find the volume rockers on both devices, along with the vibrate switch on the iPhone 6. On the opposite side, we have both power buttons and the SIM tray for the iPhone 6. Now, on the bottom of the phones is the charging port and microphone. The 6 also has its speakers and headphone port on the bottom, whereas the S5 has its headphone jack on the top. The S5 also has an IR blaster up top with a noise cancelling mic. On the face of the phone is where the front-facing cameras are located, the speaker grills, and the sensors. However, the iPhone 6 still does not have a notification light, whereas the S5 does. Come on, Apple. The iPhone 6 has a new 8-megapixel iSight camera with an aperture of 2.2. Unlike the 6 Plus that has optical image stabilization, the 6 remains at digital. Here are also some notable camera features on the iPhone 6. Now the S5 has a 16-megapixel camera with an aperture of 2.2 as well, and some notable camera features includes iOS control, digital image stabilization, and night mode. For front-facing cameras, the iPhone 6 has a 1.2-megapixel camera, while the S5 is at 2.1 megapixels. The camera interface on the S5 is pretty cluttered compared to the iPhone 6. There are just a lot more options that you can choose from. I personally would have preferred a much cleaner interface though. So most of these options are pretty obvious by looking at the symbols, but when you click on the gear on the bottom left, an entire array of options pop up, including options to change the pixels for the pictures, adding grid lines if you want that perfect shot, adjusting the exposure, changing the video mode for slow motion, and even swapping to 4K video, among a bunch of other options. Now if you hit mode, you can switch the mode of the camera to panoramic, multiple shots in one picture, and even access to the dual camera feature. I honestly think that the average user will not use most of these settings, and I prefer a much more simple menu like the iPhone 6. Super user-friendly, less cluttered, and still has a bunch of cool settings you can choose from. For example, the panoramic mode, square mode, regular photos, regular video, slow motion, which you can adjust to either 240 or 120 FPS, and time-lapse. There is also a hidden feature that you probably won't know about until you try it out, but if you tap on the screen, you can adjust the exposure in different lighting scenarios. You also have access to a timer, which was added on for iOS 8, options for HDR and flash as well. As far as custom images are concerned, the only thing that stock iOS 8 offers is the filter option on the top right of the screen. In here, you can change the theme of your picture slightly. Again, it's not the best camera for pro photographers, but it will do for the majority of people, including myself, that don't really care for those extra features. So here are just a few samples we took from our 6 versus S5 camera comparison, and if you guys want to watch the whole video, I will leave a link in the description section down below. Well, that concludes the comparison between the iPhone 6 and the Galaxy S5. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I would really appreciate any feedback you guys can give me, so either leave a like or a dislike, and leave a comment down below. It can either be a criticism or a suggestion. They are all welcomed. If you guys want to see another type of comparison, let me know which two phones, and also check out my other comparison that I have done comparing the iPhone 6 to the iPhone 5S. Once again, thanks for watching this. This is Ed from TechSource, and I will see you next time. So before I go, I wanted to share an awesome website with you guys. Cashier.com is a site where you can sell your iPhone for the highest dollar amount. Cashier only purchases iPhones and they currently operate in the United States. They do accept all the iPhones listed on this page. Simply visit their website, get a quote, ship your iPhone and get paid. It's simple, fast, and most importantly secure. You can either have them send you a check or get paid directly through PayPal. Here is a list of their current prices and you can compare it to their competitors. So if you have an iPhone that you want to sell, don't go anywhere else because Cashier will pay you the most. This is Ed from TechSource and I will see you next time.